All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode here of the Heavy Galaxy Show. Matt and John with you to do another discussion music episode here. John, what's going on? How you doing, man? Been a great month for music as always. You've seen some shows. We've had some, great interviews on the show, man. How you doing, man? What's going on with you over in Vegas?
It's Vegas, and actually decent weather, but it's windy, so very strange. But hey, and got a good show on Thursday. I get to go to Elder, Ruby the Hatchet, and Howling Giant. What a lineup!
That's a great lineup.
Yeah. So that's Thursday. So not my show. So I just get to hang out, and relax, and maybe I'm DJing the music a little bit. And that's it.
Maybe? Is it maybe meaning it definitely
it sounded
is?
Right. You never know until you get there, and
got it.
All the dynamics come together. What about you, man?
Really quiet on the live show front. It's just been a busy month, with other bullshit and not only bullshit, but just stuff in personal life, family visiting, all that kind of stuff, as we all know. But I do, I'm getting definitely ready to do some shows this summer. Obviously, the summer's coming. That's usually, especially here in the Bay Area, really when things start. Most places I know where things start ramping up in terms of live music. That's of course same show is going to be here in San Francisco. Unfortunately, as I said, I've got some family in town, and it's I was going to see. Yeah, life, man. We've also got Ben Abrams. I love them. They're playing here, but they're playing on Mother's Day, man. Worst day it could be. I mean, obviously, got some moms that I've got to take care of on Mother's Day, so won't be able to make it, unfortunately, because Abrams that's one of my favorite albums that came out last year.
Such a good album.
Yeah,
such a good album.
Yeah. But we're staying busy, obviously, with the Heavy Galaxy Show. We've been doing, like I said, we've got some great interviews over the last 3 weeks or so that we put out. Obviously, we started with the guys from Dozer, Tommy and Frederick. Their new record, man, what a new record that is. That's obviously blown up everywhere. Number one on the Doom charts, obviously, this month.
Number one on the Doom charts. I mean, to me, it was a foregone conclusion in my mind. And I looked at the voting tallies, and they won very easily. Yeah. Very easily. Yeah. And it was super cool to have those guys on, and hear a little bit about kind of the background behind it and all that. So I heard they killed it at London Desert Fest.
Nice.
Killed it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, and that's the one thing I'm dying for. I'm just dying to see those guys live. I know they said they're going to be coming over here, hopefully, I think next year, 2024. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they're only going to play certain spots. I'm pretty sure they're going to play out here at one of the, I would think they'd play.
I'm going to hit them up.
Out here in the Bay Area, hopefully, maybe you. If not, you might have to take a trip for that one, obviously, if they don't go to Vegas. But hopefully, you can put them on.
To the beach and see them. They don't play Vegas, but I'm going to make sure they get in Vegas. I'll see what I can do. If they're on the West Coast, hopefully.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, I mean, I didn't do any shows. I was taking care of mom in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
I was real close. There was some show at the Whittier, it's called. It's kind of the place that's picked up for where Mercury was before in Tulsa. And this is the second biggest city in Oklahoma. So there are bands stopping and playing at the Whittier now. So that's good. So I almost went on Friday night, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's give the liver a rest. Just chill out.
Not a bad idea.
My mom was all worried and all weird, and she goes, "Don't wreck my car." I'm like, "I'm not driving your car. What are you talking about? I'm fucking Ubering. This is insane. You thought I was going to drive?" Oh, I don't know. I'm like, "Oh, I've never driven." Going out at night from your place, drive your car. So funny stuff. But I'm excited to catch some live stuff this week for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, Oklahoma's interesting. Just real quick, I mean, I've been talking to you a little bit about, you've been obviously you're going back and forth to see your mom there who lives there. And I was telling you last time we talked about, I was like, I don't even really know. I don't think I know of any bands from Oklahoma. I forget what band we did bring up, but recently there was a band I came privy to which is an outstanding band that came out of Ripple. Rainbows Are Free. That's from Oklahoma. I saw.
They've been around for quite a while. Yeah, they're out of, I think, Norman, which is where Oklahoma University campus, which my dad was a graduate and alumni of.
Oh, wow. Very cool. A lot of
my dad's side of the family is all Tulsa and shit.
You're saying that, yeah. A lot of Oklahoma connections for the Gist clan, huh?
the Gists in Oklahoma, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much where his whole family stayed. He's the only one who even took off.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. And then he returned there in his roots. But it's an interesting city. Now that we're talking, it's just weird. I really wasn't planning to talk about Oklahoma, but they have this place called Cain's. I think it's called Cain's. And it's like the 100-something-year-old venue.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah. And Clutch is playing there.
Oh, hell yeah. There you go.
So
might be a good time to go visit mom.
I might have to book a trip for that week. That's what I need to, I need to plan it ahead. And that'd be super cool. It knocks out, 2 birds, 1 stone. First, I like seeing Clutch. It's been a while, been a year or two. So, and second, that being a venue that's been around that long, there's some bands of our ilk get to play there once in a while. I think Mothership played there. It's bands like that, but it'd be really cool to see Clutch there. I'm sure a lot of Oklahoma will travel to go in for that, even, I would think. Because other than Tulsa and Oklahoma City, probably not going to be seeing too many shows.
Sure. Yeah. How far is
it? About a couple hours away from each other. So.
I was just going to ask that question. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering how far they were from each other.
Yeah. But Rainbows Are Free. And they've been around quite a while, man.
I did see that.
A while. Ripple snagged them for this. Well, this new album's like a live album, though.
It's a live album. Yeah. But it's everyone needs to check that band out. Rainbows Are Free. Go ahead. I mean, good stoner psychedelic stuff. I was very impressed, man. That's what I'm going to say. And they got like a singer who's like was he about 6'8" or something? He's a big dude.
Never seen him, but they'll be playing at Ripple Fest, so I'll finally get to see him.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
definitely. Very cool, man. That's
yeah. One state down in Texas, speaking of Ripple, is Thunder Horse. I believe out of San Antonio. And they have a new album that was just announced today.
Show that
coming out in June. So Ripple popping out a very good year so far. I mean,
I was saying Ripple should open an office in Texas, man, because all the bands they signed from there, great bands that are coming out.
Well,
I guess we could talk about Texas all day. All those bands coming out of there, man.
That's multiple shows or multiple hours. I mean,
absolutely.
For America. That is pretty much it's just a massive state.
The hot spot.
It probably puts out more bands in California, really, that are like good and heavy and hard rock stuff. But either way, two hot spots in a bigger state, and Austin being the hub of that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally, man. Well, yeah, and then a couple others. Just going back to our interviews, we also interviewed the one and only Wino. I mean, that was obviously a bucket list one for me. I know obviously if everyone listens to that episode, you get to hear some great stories, memories that John had with Wino, some fun times that you guys had together in the past. But yeah, what a great video it was talking to him. I mean, just talking about some obsessed stuff, talking about some of his things, that have been in the press and some of his beliefs that people are trying to cancel him over and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun, man, talking to him.
Fired up about that new lineup, so fired up, and all the quotes of excitement about the new album and that will be coming out of Ripple really came out in them, and Blabbermouth went and grabbed the quotes and used them as part of an article, and they didn't even say anything about
I'm glad it didn't.
His other thoughts in the world. I was like, I'm so proud of them, Blabbermouth, for 1 minute.
Because they focused on the music. How about that? Can you believe that?
It's a common denominator,
Totally.
I thought Wino was very present and cool. He did spill his drink over, but he seemed to move past that quickly.
Oh yeah.
So I can't wait to see the documentary.
Oh man.
I got to figure out a way to probably just rent it or whatever. So yeah, man. And Kenny Hickey, that was a nice surprise. He was funny as fuck. I mean, he was digging, getting some stories and reminding him of random shit. And yeah, he's a cool cat, man.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. Obviously, Kenny Hickey from Typo Negative. That's he's from Silver Tomb. Obviously, his latest band. He's got that band, I Am. I mean, that's like an all-star band. They actually just, I don't know if you've heard it. I think you did. They put out a little extra clip today of that song. It sounds pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, I saw it, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's the vocals. Yeah, and it sounds, like he said, more rock.
It does. Mm-hmm.
And hey, you're not going to hear me complain about it.
No, yeah. No, I like that.
The less of Kirk singing, the better for me. I don't.
I know you're not a big fan of that sludgy crowbar stuff, but yeah, man, I'm with you, dude. I mean, that new song, I like that. What it sounds like. It has like just almost like an '80s rock thing to it. You know what I mean? It's we'll find out. Yeah, we gotta
find out. We'll have to hear the whole thing.
Yeah,
and yeah,
at least that part, whatever part of the song is, but I like the guitar tone and everything. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be good. But yeah, he was a lot of fun, man. Real funny guy. Like I said, get some Peter Steele stories in there. Can't have enough of those. Obviously, one of a kind guy Peter Steele was. So yeah, I mean, so with 3 really cool interviews we've had, man, just to really kick things off. Obviously, we started off, with Warlong when we started the show. About 2 months ago. But yeah, I mean, things are plugging along, and one of the things that came out recently, and we'll just brief on this because everyone knows it's what a joke the thing is, but of course, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, whatever you want to call it, abducted a couple of non-rock and roll artists. I mean, what else is new? Right? I think the only one that was inducted was Rage Against the Machine, but no Iron Maiden, no Scorpions. I mean, we can go down the list. Just once again, it's a joke, and it's one of those things.
Iron Maiden made it to the finals or whatever of the fan vote.
Sure.
And so did Soundgarden.
Mm-hmm.
And they put in a lot of people that I don't even know who they are. I mean, it's like, who's that?
Yeah.
And then, it's great to have Don Cornelius as part of the Rock Hall of Fame. Now, I watched Don Cornelius on Soul Train.
Sure.
As a little kid.
Not Rock Train, Soul Train.
Thought that there was much rock there. And so I think that they're really having a problem understanding what that term means, or they've hijacked it and they've opened it up and they ride like these angles, because the disservice they're doing. I mean, first off, Iron Maiden checks every box. And what checks them even more is Scorpions. Like Scorpions literally has radio hits. Like Maiden got songs somewhere, but they sold albums and sold massive amounts of tours and can still do it to this day. And so that's just stupid that they leave them. But then the Scorpions literally, I think when I counted once, it was like 10, 12, whatever amount of songs it made like the top 40. I mean, it's insane. Sure. And they have the highest selling live album ever, beating Frampton. All right. And unfortunately for them.
Now is that in America or just in general in the world? Worldwide.
And so right after that, Iron Maiden did Live After Death and beat them.
Wow.
No story for you. Yeah. I mean, I had Frampton, and I'm not, truth be told, between you and me and the amount of people that are listening, I'm not really into live albums
neither am I. I'm not a huge live album guy.
But Scorpions one, Worldwide Live, was so good in capturing the essence of Scorpions in a time range of these 4 albums. They didn't do anything before pre-Love Sting. So they did nothing.
You're talking about Scorpions? Yeah, well, John Roth.
Love Drive. So they Worldwide Live, they had Love Drive, Animal Magnetism, Blackout, and Love at First Sting. And that's the only songs they had on that thing. But it was such a great lesson in Scorpions for people that didn't know all of it. And they'd find out about Love Drive. They'd find out that Animal Magnetism is cool. And there's songs in there besides The Zoo. that are
Yeah,
good.
well, go back to the early days of Scorpions with Uli John Roth. Now you're talking some even better shit. I mean, people don't know about that.
Yeah,
Check out that stuff. I mean, phenomenal.
that's a whole different world, just
Yeah.
like the Fleetwood Mac thing. Like it's like literally,
it's a different band. Yeah, it's a different band.
Totally different bands.
Yeah,
I mean, Fleetwood Mac was British. You know what I mean?
They were blues. They were one of those early blues
They're
explosions.
British. Yeah, they were more like psychedelic and all this stuff. Maybe one of the guys is even Irish, but whatever. You know, and it's when Stevie and
then Lindsay, yeah,
and Lindsay jumped in where they got a couple Americans. It was, yeah. So it's anyways. No Scorpions, no Soundgarden, which
it's crazy.
That era is defining. Without, I mean, other than Alice in Chains and Nirvana, from a popularity standpoint.
Sure. Well, Rage Against the Machine, I think Soundgarden should be in before them. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, it's ridiculous, but
Rage Against the Machine, just makes sense right now in the world we're in.
Of course, yes.
No way they could. Sure. But you have to, while you're doing that, you got to add George Michael. I mean, when you think rock, you think
Shaka Khan and Shaka Khan. Those are the two.
Khan.
Rock.
I mean, I didn't even know who she was until that song, and then I didn't know who she was after that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Shaka Khan is awesome.
Yeah, she's huge, man. I mean, But once again, we're not talking about rock, as we're saying. I mean, look, as we see now, Dolly Parton got in last year, right? But what sickens me is now because of it, you've got all these musicians. I know Rob Halford just decided to do it. All these rock. She's been doing a rock album. So you had to do a rock album. I know after you get into the Hall of Fame, but you never did anything rock before that.
Probably felt guilty. She probably felt guilty. She was very much.
She wasn't going to accept it. Remember, she said she wasn't going to accept it at first.
Yeah. So this is her way of. I mean, hey, I love Dolly for that. I love Dolly for her big boobs and her spirit. So go Dolly. But yeah, she made the best out of a ridiculous situation. It's just a ridiculous situation. And a band that it makes zero sense. And the band actually spoofed people on April 1st. Foreigner issued this fake press release that outlined them. It was so hilarious. Like the stats are overwhelming.
Well, look at all the hits they've had, dude. You know what I mean?
It's
unbelievable. Yeah.
They released 5, 6, 7 platinum or gold albums.
Yeah.
And the hits, it's never ending. I mean, it's from their first album to their 6th album, they got songs with radio play. Sure. And particularly those first 4.
Well, and they've spanned different, that's the thing, they span different time span, genre. I mean, different time frames. In the 70s, it was a little more heavier stuff, or early 80s. Then they got in the mid 80s, they got a little softer with "I Want to Know What Love Is." But these were all huge hits.
Well,
I mean, that was the number one song. That was a number one song in the country.
They started, in the late 70s. That was actually my second vinyl. I got that and the Grease album were my first 2 records as a little kid. And Foreigner, they always had a pretty cool guitar element to them. If you listen to Dirty White Boy and some of those other ones, it's cool riffs and stuff. But Lou Gramm was just such an amazing singer. And yes, the ballads, they did back-to-back ballads on 2 albums. I Want to Know What Love Is was huge, but I've been waiting for a girl like you.
And that one too, of course.
Which was on Foreigner 4, was massive as well. I actually knew every single lyric and could sing that song. Not good.
I don't know. I don't know if that's something to claim.
Man, I was a little kid.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to be
can't do it now. I love Foreigner. I'm on a bet. But when I tell people like Foreigner should be in there, they go, "Oh, I always get that confused with these other bands." And then someone goes, "Yeah, I always get them confused with Chicago." I'm like, "Chicago?
Yeah, it's nothing
like
Chicago.
What the fuck?
No. Different era. Chicago's in the 60s.
Horns in every song.
Yeah.
Urgency just has the saxophone a few times.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. Enough about that. We can go on and on.
Well, just to wrap the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's the one thing I was going to say is, what? It's one of those things. I think we've just got to stop talking about it. I've been saying this for a while because we know it's a joke. It's like, I don't want to be like Eddie Trunk. Eddie Trunk's always like talk about how bad it is, and all he does is doesn't shut up about it. It's like, well, then stop.
But he's standing up for people.
Talking about it.
He's standing up for the silent.
But we know it's a joke. So what's the point of even going there? Just like anything, right? If it's a joke, then treat it like that and don't give it any attention. So this is going to be our last segment on Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. At least,
Yeah, I
right?
think I've purged it. I purged it out.
I mean, I guess we could talk about it every year.
I'm forgetting, like Bad Company or something, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, like I said, bands that we know. But Soundgarden not getting in, Maiden. I mean, Maiden, come on, they're globally just, like I said, they sound everywhere they go in the globe.
The singer flies the plane.
Exactly. Yeah, great documentary.
What do they want?
I don't know, man. Like I said, they're a joke. They don't know rock, so why are we even doing it? So fuck them. All right. Let's get to some music. Let's actually get to some music we love here. All right. Well, let's start things off. I wanted to start the show off playing the first video that the band DANAVA. Now, of course, DANAVA, a band out of Portland. They haven't put out an album now in 11 years. This is their fourth LP called Nothing But Nothing. The track we're going to play is Let the Good Times Kill. To me, this new album, man, I mean, I've known these guys for a long time, been listening to them, but this fourth record they just put out, I mean, 11 years, it's a long time, but it's worth the wait. This album is it reminds me of like a heavier, more metallic sort of, Atomic Bitch Wax. It's just proto-metal to the max. Like I said, they've just really, I mean, this to me is one of the best records of the year. But what's your take on DANAVA, man? Yeah, like I said, it's been 11 years since we've seen an album from them. Long time.
I've listened to them some in the past, but and I always like they're cool. But my memories are always going to be of Psycho Vegas.
Okay, nice. Oh yeah, that's right.
Listen to this. Yeah. The first time I saw him was like one of the first 2 years. And the singer, I guess, and some of the guys were partying so much before their set. So the singer's up there, he's like, oh, we were so fucked up, but everyone else sucks. So we're going to just this crazy conversation, like talk. And he's like, oh, my voice is so fried. And everyone's like, and I look over, I'm next to the Manchu guys, and then the ASG guys come walking up. I was standing in an area right behind the sound booth at the joint at the time, or something. And it was just, these guys couldn't stop laughing. I mean, it was just so crazy. Maybe it felt cool, but anyways, they were so crazy. And it was like a comedy throughout the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, you bring it up to anyone who was there, and people just laugh. It's just, it's like it's like when Sasquatch had the sound man on acid.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I was there for that live. Yeah. I mean, I have a video I haven't.
I saw that. Yeah, you put it up.
100,000.
Yeah.
That guy was out of his mind. He was coming up and like trying to plug things into the sand.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
I know. I saw that video, man. It was pretty like. I mean, I don't know what the hell. Like, what was he on? No one knows, right? But I mean, you were saying acid, but I don't know. He's on something. I think something more than that.
Out there.
Something else out. Yeah, just something else. He's on.
Probably a little methed up at that. We'll say.
That would be my guess. Just a guess.
Yeah, but it was fucking like it sounded so bad, and we forgot. We talked to Wino offline about his set that day later.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I brought him. He's like, "Oh, it's one of the worst sets I've played in my
ever.
Life."
Yeah, I know.
When I saw Wino at the beginning of the day, he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And this is before he even stayed with me, and hugging. Hey, good to see you. And it was like old friends. He was so happy, and Wino's not always like, "Hey," but he was like cool mood. And then later on, he just walks by with his head down, like, "Fuck." Yeah. I mean, they left. They stopped the set. Yeah,
Jeez,
Isaiah Mitchell and Golden Void. They ruined the beautiful melodies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
In the middle of the desert. And this guy just could not dial it in.
Well,
so they told him to get lost, and there was some intern working for the festival, and he'd done some sound. He did the next day.
Damn. Oh man, yeah.
All right, let's get
crazy. But yeah, let's get to DANAVA. Oh, just a quick tidbit. So DANAVA was also one of those bands that was signed to Kamado Records. And you remember the Kamado who they signed? None other than the Sword. That's where the Sword first came out of.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they're one of those original Kamado bands. Like I said, used to be more 70s proto. They really got a more metallic sound, and you're gonna check it out right now. This is DANAVA. Let the Good Times Kill here on the Heavy Galaxy Show.
Take that real life goes, you better get out while you can.
All right, we're back here, the Heavy Galaxy Show. You just heard Black Moon from Austin's High Desert Queen. We're really looking forward to I'm really looking forward to hearing the follow-up to these guys. I did put out that great debut, obviously, Secrets of the Black Moon in 2021. They're obviously on tour right now in Europe with Fatso Jetson. Obviously, Ryan Garney, the singer, he's the Ripple Fest founder, the guy who puts that all together. He does so much for the scene, man. And I just love this band. I just can't wait. Like I said, I can't wait to hear more music from them because they're just one of the top stoner bands to me that's around right now, man.
I knew of the band in the original lineup, even.
Oh, okay.
So they had a pretty controversial switchover at some point in time. But man, that album has had a nice run for them. And they just hustled. The band is hustling. They're working hard. They're going for it. They've been over to Europe. Like, this will be like the third time. They're doing 34 shows in 36 days or something.
That's great, man. Wow.
They're doing a bunch of it with Fatso Jetson, and then the other half with Mario Lally and the Rubber Snake Charmers, which is kind of an all-star band, put together with Sean Wheeler. And, he'll get almost naked every night.
Yeah, Sean Wheeler. You got to watch that guy live if people haven't before. You have to go to the desert though, usually, to see him. So I know
I'm about a little more now.
He has getting out. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Bro Rag is actually played over here in Vegas multiple times because there's always going to be a pretty good punk element in Vegas. Hell, the Punk Hall of Fame.
That's right. That's right. That's going on right now. That's right.
So yeah, so that's really a kick-ass for you folks in Europe. I mean, they're going to be in not only the UK but Germany. I think at least a show or two in Spain and Italy. And German, did I see Germany already? And then a couple other places like Czech Republic, I think.
Wow. Damn, wow. Okay.
Anyways, if you're in Europe and you get a chance to see two American bands that I'm telling you kick ass live. Fatso Jetson, great live band. Mario is Tony, or just Tony on drums. He's got his own thing. The whole thing's good shit, man.
Yeah.
Good shit. And they're playing some shows with Dunes, which is a British band with maybe an album or two, probably 2 releases, maybe 3. They're doing a show with Amon Acid.
Oh, I never heard that band. Amon Acid.
AMON Acid.
Acid, yeah.
And it's a couple. I think that they're a couple, guy and girl. And then they just added a drummer, but they put out 5 albums in 3 years. So,
oh, wow. Jeez.
So anyways, the latest album, it's good. It's on the Doom side, that's for sure. But they're playing a show, and yeah, man, they're hitting a bunch of festivals too. High Desert Queen, Fatso along the way.
Nice. So, very cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's pretty badass.
Yeah. High Desert Queen, man. Absolutely. Big fan. Yeah, man. No, absolutely, man. So, I wanted to... Now, our main segment, we were going to talk about some things. I don't know if you've heard of this. Have you seen the thing yet with the Cure, Robert Smith? Right? They're obviously, as we know, the 90s. Go ahead.
Something going on, right, with the tickets and stuff. And who's it going up against?
Well,
Live Nation.
Yeah. Well, who else? Live Nation, of course. You know what I mean? Live Nation, Ticketmaster, right? It's all one and the same. They've got a monopoly. As everyone, I mean, Live Nation's got a monopoly on the whole, market pretty much now. They've even bought up all these venues now across the country. So it's a pure monopoly. I mean, there's nowhere else to put it.
They built quite the empire.
They sure have. Absolutely.
Which, yeah, because they have so much information as well. So being a marketing guy and they have so many people's information involving music and just information that they can, segment and market, according to whatever.
Absolutely.
It's such a massive machine. It's tough for these bands to walk away from it. Now, the Cure, our buddy, Mr. Smith, what did he do? Tell me.
Well, what Robert Smith has done is something that we would love to see a lot of our bands we love do. Okay, which is pretty much he did something similar to what Pearl Jam did in the 90s. he made a big deal out of the fact that the prices are just ridiculous. You've got, I think, so what he did was he did away, okay, with the high pricing scheme pretty much. Like he came out and called them out and said this is way too much. He wanted ticket prices to be affordable for everybody. Now, of course, what Ticketmaster now does is they have all these different pricing packages and all this stuff, right? And of course,
yeah, but it's those damn fees, isn't it?
Well, it's one of the. It's a lot of things. The fees is obviously is a big part of it. Of course, that's one of the major parts, absolutely. But if we even just so some fans were complaining that when they bought the ticket or when they had to buy the ticket, that the fees were actually more expensive to pay for the fees than the actual ticket itself. Not surprising, knowing today's landscape in live music, as we've seen. They also restricted ticket transfers, right? So then what happens is what you're forced. It's like I saw this a couple years ago too. I remember with Mr. Bungle. They scheduled, I remember, 2 shows, I believe, in New York City, and of course, like that, it sold out because you had a lot of people from overseas that also wanted to see it. So, but what they did was, right, we see how it is now, right? If you don't buy now a ticket while it's on pre-sale, right, the remaining tickets get dumped over to StubHub, and then you want to play in double. And so that's another thing with like I said, the restricted tickets. Most of the time, I mean, you're very, if listen, for a concert that's a high draw like The Cure, okay, or even back then, even Mr. Bungle, this was like 3 years ago with them when they did a reunion, their first shows in like 20 years. You're going to have a high demand, and basically, and so there's going to be a huge demand for it, and then this because obviously, as we know, something like The Cure, 80s, 90s band, that's the new thing now, the 90s nostalgia. So people are going to pay up the ass for it. But what they do is, if, like I said, this is newer, this has never happened before, where they're putting tickets up for pre-sale. If you don't get it on pre-sale, then it's all dumped. I mean, but those shows, it all goes to tickets to StubHub. I mean, it all goes. This happens every time, and this is the big problem. And this is why finally a major artist stood up, the first one really since Pearl Jam, to say, "Listen, enough's enough. It's not worth me." Yeah, I get all that guarantee. Of course, like you said, the artists love that. It's hard to turn it down, but he's doing just that. So what happened was, after he came out, he complained about it in the press. Live Nation CEO Michael Rapino, he had to kind of go save his ass a little bit, or kind of do some damage control. So he did an interview on a podcast, and he basically said, well, Live Nation, is absorbing these costs. And he's claiming that the venues themselves are the ones that are getting more of that money because of what happened during the pandemic and so forth. But once again, what he's not saying is that Ticketmaster, Live Nation, and most of the venues these artists are playing in is all owned by Live Nation. He thinks people are just not going to figure that out, or not do the research to figure that out.
There's not all of them. Let's not get carried away.
Dude, all the major ones most of the major ones, you're going to have these shows. The Cure, any place The Cure plays is going to be a Live Nation venue. Okay.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't
mean they're going to play at Count Vamp. They're not going to play a place like that.
That doesn't mean they own them, though. But I get what you mean.
They're connected with them.
They have a contract.
It's the connection is what I'm saying. I'm not saying
they have a contract.
But they're all it's like everything, right? It's you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's like that with Ticketmaster, Live Nation, and the venues. So basically, what they're doing is because they're contracted, they're controlling the pricing of this, and so it's all coming from them. But he's trying to do some spin job. It's not going to, it hasn't really worked. But I think the thing to take so some of the things he said. So for instance, here's a quote. And I'll even bring, I could bring this up here onto the screen too. Just to give people a little bit of.
There's his hair. He just will not comb it.
He looks the same, pretty much, just about a little bit heavier and a lot older. So some of the things he said. Let's. I mean, I can get some of these quotes. All right. Let's go down here. Okay. I'll just put them out, but this is the article right here instead of going and find it here. Okay. So he said this is one of the things that got people a little bit up in a bind here. Okay. It says, quote unquote, this is a great, great product that people will buy as they're going to buy the Gucci bag. Okay. They're going to buy moments in life where they will step up and spoil themselves, like the big screen TV or whatever it may be. So once again, look, yeah, I mean, I guess what it comes down to is this. Obviously they could sit there and they could charge these prices. It really comes down to the fans. It's up to the fans to say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy a ticket. Or it's going to be up to someone like Robert Smith who what he did, and he wound up getting a reimbursement for pretty much most of the ticket people who purchase tickets. Now it's a small reimbursement. I think it's anywhere from $10 to $20. Okay, so you got some of them fees taken off. Okay. I mean, he had to kind of do it because they know that this is becoming something that's hurting them. I mean, you see it. I mean, you see a lot of bands right there right now. They can't even tour because it's so expensive. They make no money off it. I mean, big metal bands like Anthrax and so forth, these guys are always canceling their tours in Europe because there's no reason to make money. We saw Godsmack, right? They canceled their tour in Europe.
Really?
Yeah. So these bands are just not touring now. They can't tour. I mean, a lot of bands in the States, you can see, and this is major bands. We're not talking about just underground bands. We know they're not making any money. That's nothing.
Well, when they go to Europe, they do. When they go to Europe, they make money.
A little money.
A
little money.
I know established underground bands, and I've talked numbers with them, and it's a good move for them. Europe really goes and supports. It can be small, medium-sized cities. The culture is different. It's not Hip Hop Nation or
True.
Country Nation.
No, we know. Yeah,
a bunch of fucking country shit. So it does well. People think it's special to see an American band.
Sure. Well, that's the thing.
But what's going on? With the Cure, I guess I'm wondering. I can't remember what size venue they're playing if they did play in Vegas. I mean, I don't like the Cure, so I really don't care. But I can't remember where they played here at all. I'd be interested to see what the size is. Now, from a demographic standpoint, you said somewhere in the article he talked about it being a luxury item of sorts.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? He's not wrong. Because Generation X and Y have matured so long now into where their careers are that there's a lot of people making a lot of money that are our age, like a lot of money. I mean, I was making a lot of money in my 30s and 20s.
Sure. And we saw that with the 80s. We showed with the previous generation during that nostalgic period.
Experiential stuff is been something that I think has gotten bigger and bigger. It's actually something I studied a good bit in college way back in the day. And this is something that it's been able to expand this kind of methodology business-wise because they know they have a market. And if they don't, then they won't be selling that product for that long. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what dictates these prices.
It does. But here's my thing: is the experience of seeing a late 50s Robert Smith Cure? Is that an experience worth a couple $300 to an older band not in their prime? Yeah. Is that an experience? Is that yes. worth it? Is that worth it? Now, I'll tell you why it is. Well, I'll tell you why it is, and if it is because they don't promote new music anymore. And that's the thing. So all we've got then, or us obviously personally, but people in general, all they feel they've got is nostalgia. And this is done purpose. This is done intentionally, obviously. It's reason why they don't take a chance to put out new music because they know they've got the Robert Smiths. We could just, milk this for as much. And yes, they know that, of course, people, like you said, Generation X, Y, whatever, they will obviously they've got the money because yes, they're older. They've got secure jobs, whatever it is, family, whatever it is. They've got the money and they're willing to know. Oh, you know what? I got to see this band one more time at least before they go. Yeah, they know it. I mean, once
listen. I go to Counts Vamped a lot and other places as well. But I go there and over my 6 or 7 years of going to shows, like literally 1 to 4 shows a week, every week. I've gotten to know a lot of ladies that frequent the shows and stuff. And that is a strong tie-in with nostalgia for sure. Yeah. And what it does, they get to hear these songs that take them back to a time as well.
Absolutely.
And And the guys, it's not like guys don't either. So,
Sure.
but I do think it's a wobbly little road to ride down a little bit because you could be so disappointed.
Well, that's what it is. Exactly.
But I think that most of these artists have such a high amount of self-esteem and ego that they do want it to be do really good. They don't want to embarrass themselves, other than Vince Neil, And so so they prep, and of course, there's probably tracks involved, as we know.
Of course,
Daddy's little helper at this point in time in the concert world. But hey, I don't go to a lot of big shows anymore unless it's free. So I do prefer the smaller venues.
Absolutely,
the 200 to 400. Alice Blues is actually pretty cool to go to. Overall, it's pretty packed, but yeah. But I'll take a real cool show at Counts Vamped or the usual place here in Vegas any day.
Absolutely, and I'm with you. And I think that's what we'll talk about real quick is why we believe smaller shows, okay, or the local shows, whatever you want to call them, are a better bang for your buck, and not just better bang for your buck, but to me, more entertaining and better experience than going to these larger nostalgic shows these days. Obviously, as we know, one of the things we're talking about, obviously, not that no surprise, that one's obviously cheaper and more intimate, and that's what I like. Probably what's one of the things I love about the smaller shows and the smaller venues is the intimacy, that you won't get at a big, arena.
Without a doubt.
But
the majority of people when it comes to music are followers.
You're right. Absolutely.
The world's not, they're kind of blinders, when it comes to radio or, with nostalgia. I mean, God knows how many people we know that literally have drawn a line in the sand and said, there is no more good music. There's no more good rock and roll. There's nothing. They can't do anything like they used to. I mean, if that conversation it grows tires. If for someone like me, when I'm like, oh, really? Oh man, but how do you find out about new music? I can't stand it. Well, I mean, how do you know then there isn't good stuff? I mean, I can have that conversation and just keep question because, and then it comes to the root of just people just don't care.
They just don't care enough. It is. It's true.
And that's the way it is. Now, for listeners or watchers or whatever today, if you're someone who doesn't go out much, go check out a local show. Go by yourself. Don't worry about it. There's not, rock shows are the least of your worries. And go, if you drink, saddle up to the bar, and talk to the bartender or people there. And because you have something already in common with them. And that's the show itself that it will be playing. Yeah. And I had to do that on my own as a newly single person after I got divorced, and I had no friends in Vegas pretty much because I was the boss at work. And so I can't be friends with my staff much. Sure. So I had to, with the shows, and then I met, a concert buddy pretty early on. Met him at Spirit Caravan Elder Moss Generator show. I told him, I go, I kind of picked you up that one night. And now we go to shows. And then we've kind of been able to expand over time and you meet more people, but just getting out and hearing live music, it's a totally different thing. And if you don't know the bands, but that maybe that's a show you can check out, you do some homework. That's all you gotta do. Just play it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, whatever you got. It's free. Exactly. Just play the music and see what you think. And if you're like, but some people, they don't even want to hear something before they go to a show either. So that's and that's the thing.
Well, my thing too is when you're seeing a new band, it's think about it. People are going to see bands, right? These nostalgic bands, right? Well, what are they going to see? They're
good at seeing that, or they're good at seeing FM radio.
No, what I'm saying is, they're going to see what they're going to see is they're going to see the hits they had earlier in their career. Right? The songs that they played early in their career. They're not usually going to see the latest. I mean, you got some people who are hardcore fans that might like some of their newer stuff, but if you're going to see Metallica, you're not really seeing anything you're not going there to see anything off their last 3 or 4 records. You're going there to see off their first 4 records. No one's going to
play them though.
let me tell you, you take a survey of Metallica fans and say, what songs you really want to hear? They're saying the old songs. We know that.
Who's arguing with you about that? No one's arguing with you about that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Metallica will play new songs.
I'm not saying they won't play them, but I'm saying no one's going in to necessarily see them. They're going to see the classics. So what you're seeing is a band in its infancy. If they're most of the time, a lot of times, if you're seeing a newer band within the first few records, you're seeing them really in their prime. You know, and instead of paying hundreds of dollars to see a washed-up band that maybe has one or two original members. Some even look at a band like Quiet Riot, don't even have any original members. A band like that, you know, and that goes to a whole band versus brand thing, which is a whole different, discussion for another time. But also, right, you're not paying. I went to see last year Alice in Chains, and who was it? It was Alice in Chains, Bush, Breaking Benjamin, I think it was, right? Yeah, not my band, but nice, seemed like a bunch of good dudes. But $20 drinks, a $50 t-shirt on top of
drinks. What the fuck?
$20 drinks.
What are you drinking, dude?
It doesn't matter what you drink, whether it was a beer or whether it was whatever. It was $20, man, 18, $20. So
where did you see it? San Francisco?
Yeah, Shoreline Amphitheater in San Francisco, Mountain View, and it's just, listen, once again, but those where those shows are at. So what do? You've got to incur. It's not just the ticket price, too. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Ticket price is one thing. If the ticket price was expensive, but drinks and merch were reasonable, what's one thing. But nothing is reasonable. But also, like you brought up a great point. You're not going to be getting those backing tracks. Half of the time you see in these older bands, it's none of it's backing tracks. They're not going to go out there and really show you how. Let's put it this way: when I saw Bush, I was never a fan of Bush, right? But I saw they played, what was it, the acoustic song Glycerine. Right?
I hate that song so much.
I hate it too, and it was horrendous live, man. I mean, he
fucking
sucked.
Can't stand that song. I had their first two albums. I thought they were great back then. Yeah, I admit it. I like that kind of stuff. But that song, it destroys me every time I hear it. Just like the song "All Apologies" by Nirvana. It just sucks like some weird soul out of my body. Soul is left.
Wow, damn, Dan.
Now, speaking of soul. How about the Sick New World Festival happening here? On Saturday here in Las Vegas. This thing is mammoth. It's at the Las Vegas, what they call Fairgrounds, which is literally across the street from the Sahara. I live right in this neighborhood here. And they got 45 bands and 4 stages all in one day.
This is crazy.
And I think the lowest price ticket was like $250.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up. Just give me a second here. I'm gonna actually bring that up.
I mean, they have on there, bring it up. Just
so people can see that
the Down, Deftones,
So we got
Ministry.
Evanescence, a lot of '90s bands, obviously a lot of new metal bands.
Obviously, break up the specs for this. All right.
Yeah. I mean, heavy rock. You've got Melvins, obviously, like you said.
Evanescence, Chevelle, which is still a band that does very good at live shows. Like meaning,
I like Chevelle. I do.
I like.
Yeah, I like
Melvins.
Yes, Melvins.
Melvins are going to be a Mr. Bungle, which I fucking can't stand. You might as well call it Mr. Butthole. I do not like that band. Mike Benton bothers me. I know people get pissed off. Don't get me pissed off. I don't think he takes shit serious enough.
Yeah, he does. I'm with you. I love him with Faith No More, but you're right. He's goofy.
Stuff.
I'm with you.
And so, also you got Sisters of Mercy, Korn, which I'm not a Korn guy. It was the first 2 albums, maybe way back. Yeah, I've seen them so many times. I don't need to. Incubus, which I've actually never seen.
Oh, they're good. I like Incubus. I like Incubus. Yeah.
And Soulfly. Whoa.
I'll tell you one band I really like, guys. It's this band Turnstile. I'm actually a big fan of, but
I've never heard a song by them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's your thing, but
they kill it.
I like them a lot. They're kind of like a mix of like a punk, hardcore, pop, mix, if you want to call it, something like that. So they're kind of heavy, but they're not too heavy. They're very light, and they were very very what do you call it, polarized band. You either love them or you hate them. It's one of those kind of bands. Most people who hate them
I
despise
probably
them.
hate them. But
You'd probably hate them. Yes, you probably.
But you know, the 6th stage is incredible. You literally got Cold Chamber, which maybe is not my thing, but I know Meigs from around here.
Oh, Meigs,
party with him and stuff.
Okay.
They're Cold Chamber and Seven Dust, which is the band I've liked from the very beginning. They're out of Atlanta, and I was living in Atlanta when they just started hitting, and then they were moved to Orlando, and I was in Orlando as well. So I like those guys. Met them, a couple of them. They're super cool. Body Count. So we got Ice-T in the house. Body Count, which I had the first album and loved it. Cop Killer and all that shit. I was 23 years old or something. You know what I mean?
I remember that came out.
Yeah. Stank, Filter, which, geez, Filter's first 3 albums were, for me, unbelievable. I liked those first 3 albums. I don't care a shit about that one fucking song.
Picture,
whatever that song was about the picture. Yeah, fuck that song. It bothers shit. I mean, but man, I loved that first 2 albums in particular. Really.
Yeah. So we see a lot of big bands on here, obviously from the 90s. This is a very obviously 90s focused. Even Cradle of Filth. That was, Cradle of Filth was black metal. That was huge. I mean, I'm not a fan, but it's interesting. It's an interesting mix.
My life with Real Kill Cult.
Real Kill Cult. They're one of those bands too. One of those KMFDM. All the industrial metal stuff. Yeah, Skinny Puppy. But yeah, like I said, a lot here. But so once again, okay, but I'm someone from the 90s. Pretty much grew up in the 90s. $250 to see this, like we were saying too. This is all in one day. Yes, yeah. So even worse. That's crazy. So you have 4 stages. That many bands. You're not going to see that many bands in one day. It's impossible.
You're so fired up. Get this, Matt. I get it. It sold out in 4 hours.
Oh, I'm sure it did. That's crazy though. That's crazy. But at least it's a festival.
I know someone that is potentially getting $500 tickets. And it's a tier 3. So at least you get your own bar and bathroom area. But $500 for a whole weekend. I mean, for one day.
One day. That's what I'm saying. That was a weekend. It's one day. One day.
Plus the booze. If you're there that long, I mean, I'm like a train. Once I get on that track, it's just keep going. Once they get in that first or second drink, it just go.
And I will say something though, because this is in Vegas, and Vegas is a destination city. Okay, you can make a trip out of this, right? You can make a vacation out of going seeing this, because you've got everything else in Vegas. That's why I said Vegas is just great for festivals and stuff. It's just nothing, it's tailor made for it. So I guess I could kind of see this the Vegas thing. It makes sense.
Still a lot of money.
Still a lot of money. $500.
It sold out. I mean, and dude,
I know people are paying. I know
this tract of land that they've been using. It's where they did like a Rock and Rio show, even with Metallica and Deftones, like I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And man, it's big, but I've never been in there, so I can't wait to go. Well, actually, I don't have a ticket, and I'm not buying one.
Well, hopefully you get it free. Yeah, well, you're not going to go if you don't get it. So, yeah.
Well, I know someone that's they're working some ankles, but you never know what can happen sometimes.
Yeah.
But let's play.
Yeah, let's get
into music.
All right, let's get right into. Yeah, we want to get into some more music here. We'll end the segment there, obviously. Just like I said, but before we wrap it up, go to local shows, go to the smaller venues, support the younger, the local bands and the underground bands. Man, that's what it's all about. We just want to keep encouraging that and get away from the $500 tickets. I mean, give me a break, man. Ridiculous. But anyway, all right. So so let's get to some music. So this one, this is we're gonna angle this to your way, John, because we're gonna play a couple of Ripple bands now. Obviously, as most people know, you've done a lot of work with Ripple, helping to curate some bands. Or I like to use A&R because that's how it was. In the old days in the business, people who sign bands or help connect bands. That was an A&R rep.
Yeah.
So first video up is brand new, just came out, not the song, but the video for Kaiser's Fire. That was off Turn to Stone Chapter 6, I believe. You obviously brought Kaiser on board. So talk a little bit about these Finnish stoner rockers, man.
You know, I fell in love with this band on their first album. They actually had an EP before that, but their first album, the First Sound, and it landed like top 10 for my year-end list, and I still listen to it to this day. And I like them so much. In a shot in the dark, I offered them a chance to come play Planet Desert Rock 2, which is a festival that I ended up having 8 European bands come.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. And Kaiser was one of them. And Captain Caravan was the other, which is the other side of the album on Ripple. So I was able to put two VRR alumni bands, Planet Desert Rock bands, and put them together. And Kaiser, man, they're really inspirational if you get to know what's happening with them. And I'll tell you, O2 is an inspiration within himself. He was born with a birth defect. And so he's playing with a deformed finger on guitar. And you would never, I could play with all 5 of my fingers. It would never be nothing like that. I could never even, this guy is talented not only on guitar, he has chops on vocals and is able to maneuver his voice around as he does things where, like, what if Caius played this Queens of the Stone Age song, or this, System of the Down sings this, and it's on Munich Productions, and he gets a ton of watches now on all that stuff, and he's a funny, expressive guy. And when I met him, when they landed and everything else, and we met at the first night, this guy spoke perfect English, like better than some of the dumbasses I know in Vegas. I was like, whoa. Wow. Matter of fact, a lot of the European bands spoke pretty damn good English.
That's good,
Mr. Bison from Italy, they were touch and go at times, and Green Desert Water from Spain. A couple of them real good. Others, was more like, okay. But it was Kaiser, to me, they know how to put songs together and really rock. And Fire is just 2.5 minutes of just fast and furious stuff. And they put the video together on like a shoestring budget. Like, I think they actually had a video, and then somewhere or another got lost or erased or corrupted.
Okay.
And so they went and did this with like cell phones and quick.
That's all you need to do these days, man. Yeah.
Together. Yeah. That is all you need to do. Really. At this level, just to help yourself.
Exactly.
But the song is so good, and the video, showing people just going off,
Yeah, it's a cool video.
Fire. It's like people are on fire,
It's a song that fires you up, man. It really does. It's a heavy.
I timed it, Matt. When I DJ, sometimes I've timed it where it's right before the band goes on stage.
Okay.
And man, you can feel the fire.
Nice.
Well, 2.5 minutes, they're like walking on the stage and they're getting, you know what I mean? Feel the fire. It's just bam.
Well, let's have the listeners
and this is unbelievable. Then I hit my pen and kept going.
Nice.
Yeah. So really proud of Kaiser. And that album's done very, very good. That was my little, mine and Todd's Scandinavian album we put together. And again, big thanks to Todd Severn, who, well, he won't probably hear this because he doesn't listen to these shows much, but big thanks to Todd and Ripple for being part of let me be part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, let's have our viewers and listeners now. Let's have them hear the fire here. Here's Kaiser with Fire on Heavy Galaxy Show.
It can't be science, all in vain.
All right, we're back, and you just heard Brother of the Badlands. That's from WOLFNAUT, the Norwegian Vets, off their 4th LP, Return of the Asteroid. Mixed and mastered by the great Carl Daniel Leiden, man. That's the one thing that really, I mean, other than the songs, great songs on the record, but the production on this record is just phenomenal. You know what I mean? I mean, just every instrument is just clear and crisp and in your face. It's just a great record. Obviously, Carl Daniel Leiden also was an ex-drummer for Dozer, the OG drummer for Greenleaf as well. He's producing all their records. He produced a recent Dozer record he worked with those guys, and he's just really become such a maven in the studio. Just a stellar.
Oh yeah.
Just a stellar produced record, though, this WOLFNAUT record, Return of the Asteroid, man. So another band that you obviously helped out, Ripple, and found these guys, too. They were originally called Wolfgang, I believe, right? Correct?
Yeah, they had 2 previous albums, and I think maybe that first album was that name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They used to be a 4-piece, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I ran into the album really early on, the 3rd album, and I think it was 3rd album. Yeah. And I was, I was kind of like, damn, that's pretty good. Like, it wasn't like extraordinarily unique or different and all that stuff. It was just, good song, good heavy hard rock shit,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
They did it. They did 2 videos where the 3 of them are lined up in the cab.
In the car, yeah, I saw that one.
Truck, a pickup truck. Mm-hmm. And they're in the snow and they're like, I'm like, man,
it's interesting video.
Yeah, I'm like, you gonna do it? They're like, yeah, we're gonna do it again on the next video. I'm like, but there's snow this time. I'm like, oh, okay. So that song did very, very, very well. Swing Ride, which I think is their best song off the last album. And I was just digging them. So once in a while, maybe I send someone over to talk. Hey, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And I scout out a few things sometimes beforehand, and yeah. And the guys are super cool as well, and I think that's an important part to even considering someone to mention the Todd, because to be a Ripple, to be involved in there somewhere or another, I think you got to be a cool person. You can't be some pompous fucking dick, sure. Or somebody that's a little bit you need team players of sorts, and you could tell these guys were becoming more and more supportive of the scene too, and that sometimes happens with bands. They find out, they get in the loop, and they find out more, and they're like, holy shit, there are a lot of good bands and a lot of good people all over the world.
Yep.
And it kind of opens things up to do shows with each other and everything else. You kind of find out who word of mouth, who you can trust and who you can work with, and just you find out about another good band.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes, because band guys aren't always staring and looking around at
no, they're not.
Yeah. So right. A lot of them don't do anything with music. I mean, that's serious.
No, you're right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of musicians, not necessarily in our scene as much, but some that will insist, I don't listen to anything that is new.
Mm-hmm.
Who told me that once was Keith from Sasquatch.
Oh, interesting. Okay, really?
I don't listen to anything new.
Yeah, some guys are like that. I mean,
he doesn't say that it's bad. He just says,
he just doesn't listen to new stuff. Yeah, no, I know. It's some people, right? Some people just like classic stuff, and that's it, man. Not interesting. But you made a good point that I think really with doing this heavy rock scene, I think I mentioned this on the last discussion episode we did, is you don't see the pomposity, you don't see pompous, dudes and or just people in general. I mean, and if it is, like you said, it gets kind of sniffed out quickly, and word gets around, and if that happens,
we have some interesting characters that you and I know.
Sure, of course.
And other ones that obviously I've worked with a lot of bands, just live shows alone. So there's a certain aspect of getting to know someone during that process. Like, because I'm there from the beginning to the end of my shows.
Sure.
I get there almost when they're showing up. And there's so many personalities. It's so a kaleidoscope of thing, but I would say an overall non-pretentious coolness, because they're quite frankly pretty happy they get to play in front of people and and have some fun and get to play music that they know people will get off on. But there's certainly some people that are a little fucked up.
Hey, there's always going to be people that are fucked up, right?
I'm going to leave it at that. They're a little fucked up.
That's
what I've had to deal with his personalities, and I deal with personality conflicts, which you and me know. We have a certain band that we both know, and we know one of the guys in particular better. And that's been a breakup of sorts. Actually, I know 2 bands with bad breakups in the last
6 months or so this year. Yeah.
And boom, the other member's gone. And that's tough on some fans. There's a weird vibe at times that people are you have an allegiance to a certain degree about the other person.
Sure.
I think that makes it a little tricky, we'll say.
It is. It's human nature, I mean, it is,
but I think that overall, good peeps. It's, I think most of these cats and chicks will hang out, during the show. I'll be interested how it goes. I'll be interested to see what it's like on Thursday with Elder, Howling Giant, and
Ruby Hatchet.
Ruby Hatchet, because I know where the show's going to be at. It's at the usual place, which is where I did my final night of Planet Desert Rock when I had Nebula, High Desert Queen, Salem's Bend, and Sonolith. And they have a massive back area, like literally 2 times bigger than the front bar area. Now, if they open it up to the full thing, then they literally have a stage they move, Matt.
Oh, wow.
It's a mobile stage from one point to the other.
Interesting. Okay.
But if they keep it the small one, it will be interesting to see if the bands kind of hibernate back there, because there is a comfort zone they can be in, a green room of sorts.
Okay.
Or whether they socialize.
Okay.
That'd be interesting. My guess is Howling Giant, they're going to be out there front and center. Those are good Tennessee boys, and they like to sell merch, so they're going to be out there. So it'd be interesting. I've never really hung out and talked much with the Ruby Hatchet band, but I've seen them a couple times.
Okay.
And then Elder, I go way back with Elder, and I knew Elder's original drummer, Matt, who was with Kind. I know him really well. Super cool guy. But nice. And I know the other guys in Elder some too. So it'd be interesting to see that dynamic. I'll be able to walk probably wherever I want anyways, hopefully. So I can at least go chat for a little bit.
Sure, yeah. Well, that's cool.
But that's what I think is really cool about the intimacy is you mentioned earlier about the scene, about these kind of shows, is that the access and the potential to have a moment or create a relationship. And I don't mean relationship like weird, but where next thing you know, you're a fan of them and on Facebook and they interact a little bit with you. I mean, that's stuff that I think people think is really neat.
It is.
Some people don't know when to stop, but
And there's some great veteran guys. It's not just the new bands too. Even some of the older bands. And some of the. I mean, we see with Wino. I mean, Wino is just one of the most down to earth guys you'll find. I remember interview with Ruben Romano from original drummer from Fu Manchu and Nebula. What a great dude he is, and so great with his fans. I mean, he does. There's no pretentiousness, nothing, and that's what's just great about the scene. Yeah.
I mean, a band that's not in the scene per se, a little bit bigger, but his helmet. And I've hung out and had drinks with Paige 2 times, and another time it was the first time I'd seen him after a show, and I was just kind of lingering around, just get my feel for things, and then, hi, how you doing? But I've literally hung out with him. I mean, I was fucking blackout drunk by the end of the night.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, me, Paige, my friend Ingrid, Jessica, these Boston girls. And yeah, I mean, Paige was cool. I mean, we have like crazy pictures, and yeah, Paige is, I wish I remembered more of the conversation.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, there's, I think
peeps in the scene. There really is.
I think it's great when people do that. It's super cool. You know,
it is.
You know, Signia World, you know, is missing at the last minute here Monster Magnet.
Yeah, that's some, which is probably the one band on that bill that you'd want to see. You know, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Without doubt.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why who knows, man, they pulled out for, I don't know, who knows why they pulled out, but you know,
he doesn't play much, man. He's got health issues. Big time.
He does. He does. But you know, it's like you know, we were Power. You know, we were talking about the Monster Magnet Power Trip, you know, record. You know, that album was actually written. He wrote all of it in Vegas. Just a little tidbit for you.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he moved to Vegas.
He had some weird. I read an article where he had some banter, some back and forth with the record execs and wherever he was at the time. And he's like, listen, if it matters that much, I could do this, this, and this. I guarantee it. And they were like, no. And then finally he's did it. And that's what Power Trip was, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just made it big. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that album. Everything else is, you know, quite a couple levels below it. But I got into them through the album before that, which I think was the same for you, right?
Yes. Dopes to Infinity, 1995. Yeah. That was a great record. And speaking of that, that'll actually, speaking of Monster Magnet and that album, it's gonna take us right into our last segment here, the Rock City Spotlight. And what this is when we're gonna pick just a specific sort of region, location, whether it's in the U.S. or it's around the world, doesn't matter where. And we're going to talk about a little bit, you know, we're going to play some videos from some older, you know, bands, some bands that were, you know, veteran bands that have been there for a while, as well as some more recent bands. And today's region, we're going to go to the New York, New Jersey area. And I didn't pick this. Yes, I'm from New York. But John, this is yours. I'm not a homer. John actually was the one that came up with the idea. So I'm not a homer. I'm not picking it because I'm from just to throw out there, you know.
I would good idea. You did what they call a pre-buttal. You know, the impetus for why I thought about it was Kenny Hickey, and it just got me thinking a little bit. And we during that interview, and I'm like, man, it's still, you know, a pretty lively scene up there. And you know, to go back in time, obviously Monster Magnet, God, just such an important part of our scene. Really, those 4 albums in a row were just really, really solid. And that was, you know, that was kind of a coming in at the end, you know, coming in during grunge era, really. Because gosh, the other albums were very psychedelic early on. Some people swear by those over, you know, the Power Trips and the Dopes. And Dopes Infinity has, without a doubt, a psychedelic part of all that. Well, kind of meshed the two things together, and then they went full throttle for a while.
Absolutely,
just a great band. I miss them. I saw them in Atlanta, Georgia. I lived in Atlanta for 1 year. I saw it at the place that I forget the name. It's like a Heaven and Hell. Okay, this is probably nothing you know about, but people listening, I bet, do. So they tore it down and built another one. But I saw them in Hell, and it was Monster Magnet with Kid Rock opening up.
Oh, interesting! Wow.
But Joe C had like just gotten sick or died a little bit before that. And I was looking forward to seeing the little man, fucking breaking it down. I love this on Bull God.
Yeah,
love it. I probably still could listen to it and get a little fired up.
Yeah,
and the lyrics are great. Like they're simplistic and they rhyme and all this other stuff. But he was talking about like a mindset of sorts of going and getting it, but partying like a fucker. And I kind of remember. I mean, I was kind of in that zone at that era to some degree.
Sure,
Yeah. Anyways, Monster Magnet, just great shit.
And, great stuff, man. You know,
and then, geez, kind of a spinoff of Monster Magnet.
Well, I wouldn't see. That's an interesting thing. If we're going to talk about, of course, the other New Jersey band that's a stoner, obviously a stoner legendary band, the Atomic Bitchwax. It's interesting though about that connection there. Obviously, that New Jersey connection is, well, for one, Dave Windorf. I don't know if you know this, but he was actually in a band that was, before Monster Magnet, that was signed to Elektra Records, to a major label, a band called Shrapnel. And they were actually the first signing for, the guy who signed Metallica, Michael Lago. That was the first band he had signed, was Shrapnel, Dave Windorf's band. They were sort of a play on, like, the idea of it was so they dressed up in all this military gear. And yeah, it was really interesting. It was kind of, they were like a power pop band, really. And I interviewed Tim Cronin, who was the original drummer of the Monster Magnet. That's a cool interview. He talks about just how that band started.
Right.
They used to have that mystique, right, of how they were like supposedly there was like acid parties where they do acid shows where everyone was on acid, and that was the whole. But it was that didn't really happen, but it was just obviously this mystique that kind of helped the band grow a little bit back then. Yeah, and that was a sound, like you said, that wasn't, especially on the East Coast, it wasn't a big sound. I mean, obviously on the West Coast you had Kaiser and Fu Manchu doing it, at that point, and Monster Magnet was East Coast, sort of, leaders of that stoner rock sound.
Yeah, and Corrosion Conformity too. Corrosion Conformity too.
And so you're right. COC, good point. Yes,
the Pepper version.
Yeah,
which of course I prefer.
Yeah,
yeah. I think those bands, and hell, I sometimes want to say like, well, Down as well to some degree.
Yeah, it's a little bit later. Yeah,
Label Society. I always feel like it's kindred spirits with this world. It's
they are
heavy rock umbrella. It's guitar driven, clean vocals, memorable songs. I mean, but yeah, Atomic Bitchwax, if I remember correctly, a couple different times, everyone in the band was also in Monster Magnet.
So obviously, getting back to that exactly. So you have Chris Kosnick, right? He's the bassist vocalist for Atomic Bitchwax. He was in a couple of bands in New Jersey, and obviously, yeah, I mean they were all, bands are all connected. He would fill in on bass, and eventually became a full-time member. And obviously, then all those Monster Magnet guys, Bob Patel and all these guys, they came over to Bitchwax. So there's always this sort of mixing and matching going on with both those bands. Absolutely, yeah. Two great bands, New Jersey bands, like you said. And let's go. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's start it off. We'll start off with Monster Magnet. We'll go back to, like you said, when we both first heard of them. This is the first song I ever heard by them. Great song, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Like I said, off that great record, Dopes to Infinity, back in '95. And so let's check that out. Here's a little blast from the past. Monster Magnet.
Saw your face last night on the tube. Strong, fine snake in a sucker's vacuum. 15 clicks and it's time to say bye. 15 trips and a love that won't die. Myself, your world today. come on, my love, so cool above. You say, my love, I can't wait for it every day. So come on. So come on, my love, so cool above. You say, my love, I can't wait for it every day. So come on. Ain't you tired of running around this town? Can't you see? Now she's calling me. I get so tired of running around. Look now, can't you see? They're still watching me. So come on, my love, so cool above. You say, my love, I can't wait for it every day. So come on. Ain't you tired of running around this town? Or can't you see? Now she's calling me. I get so tired of running around. Look now, can't you see? They're still watching me.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Galaxy Show. You just heard the Atomic Big Schwacks with So Come On, which is pretty much, I think, it's funny. I went on Spotify. That's their most played song, surprisingly. I thought it might be off their first record, the Atomic Big Schwacks' first record, but that's the first, that's their top song, and that was off their album, the 2006 released Box Riff, one of the only original songs on that record. And yeah, they just can't go wrong with the Big Schwacks. You ever hear that record they did? It was, I forget the name of it, but it's one song. It's a 40-minute song.
A 45-minute song, man. Yeah. ADHD.
I with
that
you.
Shit
Man.
is hard.
It's too much.
It took me like a year or so to listen to that one St. Karloff album.
Okay.
Because it was all one song.
Yeah.
I really liked St. Karloff's first album. I was like, this is good shit. And then the album came out and it was like 40-minute long song. I'm like, oh. Yeah.
The Local Fuzz is the name of the album. 42 minutes. Yeah, I mean, obviously Sleep had that, right, with Jerusalem. I mean, I'm with you. It's like I can't listen. I mean, I did put it on, the whole album, and it's like it's just this consistent, different switching. And I mean, it's pretty cool, but yes, it's not something you're going to be obviously listening to a lot.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I've listened to the whole Atomic Bitchwax catalog, so I'm aware of it. And I think the last 2 or 3 albums they put out and they're a little. Sometimes I look at them like, God, they're almost like a revved up, heavier Foo Fighters. Sometimes,
yes, no, you're right. They have it. Some of the songs are definitely, I agree.
But just way better, riff action and more. Yeah, and you and me both saw them at different times at the Heavy Psych Sounds Fest, and they kill.
They killed it. I mean,
they've yet to play Vegas in I don't know how many years. So I know they're booking agents, so maybe one day I'll get them over.
Yeah, I mean they're just as good as it gets, man. They're the kings, man. They're just legendary band. Love them. One of my favorite all time bands. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pivot. Obviously, like I said before that, we heard Monster Magnet, but now we're gonna pivot into more the modern. So a couple of modern bands that are coming out of the New York, New Jersey area these days. One of the bands, and I know we both really, really like this band a lot, man. I mean, they're going to get bigger. I mean, there's no doubt. I already see them just getting bigger and bigger. We're talking about the band Restless Spirit. They just, obviously they put out their last record a couple years ago, Blood of the Old Gods, which got picked up by Magnetic Eye Records. So they're now signed with them. And which is that's a really good stoner rock label. Great label. Yeah.
More than stoner.
Yeah, exactly. And I love it. In Restless Spirit, their first record, Lord of the New Depression. That's a great record. I interviewed Paul, who's the singer guitarist, and he was saying he can't even listen to that record because I guess maybe the way his headspace was in on that record, and he just there's certain things about it. He doesn't listen to it. I'm like, well, dude, man, that's an awesome record. I mean, this is just a really up and coming.
I've been listening since I heard him the first album, and that second album really kicked it in for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I've even had conversations with one of the guys before. I mean, about coming out here sometime. I think that'd be super cool.
Awesome.
I think they're really, I call them stoner metal.
Yes.
And I think that them and Wolf Tooth would be an unbelievable matchup. Just what a kick-ass stoner metal matchup. Yeah. I mean, Wolf Tooth literally does nothing but, regional shows, and maybe they've gone up to New York for a show or two or something. And that's it. They really haven't done a lot of shows necessarily. And Restless Spirit, I've never heard of them going anywhere. So, some of those bands, it's going to be about what do they want out of it. Because
Restless Spirit does travel.
Bands have to look at it from an experiential standpoint as well, because money is not that present until America starts supporting small shows more. I mean, that's the bottom line. If more people know about the music and more people are supported by going out and buying, then things go up. Until then, these bands are going to head to Europe if they can.
No, you're right.
Queens over there for the third or fourth time,
Yeah.
Sasquatch going back over there again, I mean, that's what you do. Neville, El Perro. Parker made sure to get his shit together enough to make sure he got a band together to go to Europe. I mean, he even told me on the phone, he's like, I can't fuck this up, and I can't not go to Europe, And he put together, El Perro's got one hell of a band put together too.
Yeah.
He got Mucho from Great Electric Quest on drums. And, one of the guys in Prison Circus. Anyways, back to Restless Spirit.
Yeah.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
Where in New York are they from there, man?
They're from Long Island. They're a Long Island band. And they do travel. They've toured. They usually go down to like around North Carolina. They do that. They do that circuit down there, down the Atlantic coast. So they do. They have connections there. That's a great scene. Obviously, there they have in North Carolina too. And so they do. I mean, obviously, like I said, it would be great to see bands like that travel out west. Like say hit up in Vegas. And it's tough. It really is. I mean, it is just so tough for these bands to travel. So another reason why we try to see them when they do come, because support them. And of course, you don't know when you're going to see them again, if ever. So,
Yep.
But yeah, Rest of Spirit, one of those great new bands. We're gonna go ahead and play the video here. This is Judgment in Exile. What's interesting too about this is it's only a portion of the song. The song's about 8 minutes long, but the video is about a little under 3 minutes. They are a band that they do have, they have a progressive element to them, so their songs are a little bit longer. So I think, just to give a good, I think it was smart by Magnetic Eye to put out a cool, maybe, just 2.5 to 3 minute video just to get people a good taste of,
radio edit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. That's the new way of radio editing. Exactly. But yeah, okay. So we'll go ahead. We're going to play Judgment in Exile. This is Rest of Spirit off their stellar album, Blood of the Old Gods, right here on the Heavy Galaxy Show.
Control
All right, we're back, and you just heard this is another great band out of New York, Blackwater Rising. Joke's on you, man. This is a kick-ass band. That song especially is fantastic. A band that's been around for a little while. Obviously, the first record came out in 2010, and they've got, like I said, 3 records out. They put out some singles over the last few years, but this is one I know. Obviously, I know you're a big fan. You said on this band played out in Vegas, correct? They actually made the travel?
Actually, a long time ago, I saw them in Vegas, like 13, probably 2013 or 12 with, oh God, I always forget the name of this band. It had Dewey Bragg as the singer and then Rex Brown.
Oh yeah,
on bass.
Kill Devil Hill.
Yeah. And so I saw them in this venue that's no longer there that was right on Fremont Street and with like probably 40 people, maybe the most. And so I actually got to meet them a little bit during that show, but you know, they got really popular. Jose Mangan kind of backed them back when he used to listen to decent rock and roll music. And Octane Radio, you know, they played them. And I was like, that's how I found out about Blackwater Rising. And they, you know, just got good riff rocking stuff. Rob Traynor, who's the main guy, he's the singer, writer, and one of the main guitarists, has been around the scene. I mean, this is a Brooklyn guy. And so I sent a message over with a Kenny Hickey interview to Blackwater Rising.
This is cool.
I just sent it over on Instagram. And I got a message back. I think I sent it to you where they break it down that like Rob was in a band with Kenny Hickey and Johnny Kelly.
Yeah. From Typo.
And that was Blackwater Rising originally. And then it broke up and he just kept the name.
Very cool. Yeah. He was also in the band Dust to I remember I was telling you like his name was familiar. I thought he was in another band. And he was. There was a Brooklyn band back in the early 2000s called Dust to Dust. They were like a new metal type of sound. They were on Sanctuary Records, but they did. There was a minute there where that record I remember was getting some notoriety and so forth. And so he's been. Like he said, he's been in the scene, in the New York scene, for a long time. Also in that band, the bassist Odie McLaughlin, he's in a great '90s like groove metal grunge band called Damn Your Eyes. It's another great local band in New York.
Lefty bassist. Yeah, super cool cats. They played 2 Vegas Rock Revolution shows. So
nice.
They actually set up a great show at Vamped. I forgot who we had Arthur C's band, House of Broken Promises. With
I love that band.
And me, Arthur, and Rob and Mike, the drummer for Blackwater Rising. And I think his wife is with us. And we all ended up down at a pizza place in Fremont Street. And smoking and drinking and having a good time. Rob is a super cool guy. Mike as well. All of them great guys. And and then they came back and played Planet Desert Rock as well, part 2. And so big fan of those guys. Love to get them back to Vegas at some point in time. And Vegas people know who they are because Vegas, I call this an octane city.
Yeah,
people are very dialed into Octane Radio on Sirius XM, and so that's kind of been more focused than FM at times, even for a lot of these folks. And they know Blackwater Rising because of that. So it's always cool to have them in town. People dig it.
And I think
and the new stuff is good. I think this song is great.
Oh, that sounds great.
They're sprinkling new singles along. I think it's 4 singles in a couple of years or whatever. So. Times are tough. It's COVID era, but and they got full-time jobs and everything else,
Sure. But no, it's a solid band. It's funny you said Jose Mangan. I think that's probably obviously when Jose was still living back east. He was good like that. He would pump some local bands that he would see at clubs and so forth in New York and New Jersey areas. So
he later on pumped King.
Yes, out of LA. Yeah.
With LA. And he loved like the whole he does a lot of stuff with Latino artists.
Yes.
And King was awesome. They've actually played Planet Desert Rock as well. And they played, 2 or 3 of my shows before. That's another band I found out at Octane back when they used to play decent shit. you know?
Yeah.
And they're just a band that's just, you know, one of the guys left now, and Pepe lives in Texas, and Eddie lives in LA.
It's too bad, man. That was a great band. I mean,
oh man, there.
They were a good band. I saw them live, when they opened for Clutch about 10 years ago. Or
Oh yeah, I went on that tour. I saw that tour. I don't know,
Hell yeah, with Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. If we look back just, 7-10 years, some of the lineups we got to see and what they matured into, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I saw Rival Sons at Vinyl, which is the smaller venue.
Sure.
I saw Graveyard there too.
Nice.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking
see, and that what we're saying, right? You go to local shows, go to the smaller venues. These are memories you're gonna remember. Bands like you said, Rival Sons. Look how big they are now. You saw them in a small spot. You see, that's right there. People go to these local shows.
Yeah, it's the way it goes. Without a doubt. I mean, hell, Melvin's will be playing in front of. I don't even know how many thousand are going to be at this thing across the street.
Yeah.
But I saw him with 170 sometime in the last year. I mean, they played a bar downtown called Backstage that, people got to pay for parking and all those other stuff. It was like a Monday night. But, yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty it's cooler to see Buzz's hair right there in front of you.
Right there in front of you, absolutely, yeah.
Wearing a fucking weird robe.
I mean, I'll say no. It's
I know, it's just, I love it in some reason, but I find him fascinating. That's a guy I would love to have on the show, but he's just out there, and that's cool. So,
he's cool,
man. New York, that scene is just chock full of stuff. And Golden Grass, which is on the psychedelic side of things, they just put out an album or just about to come out on Heavy Psych, and that's the best one I've heard from them. I don't know what it is, but it clicks more for me than the previous stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Another great, very good Long Island band, stoner rock band, Indus Valley Kings. I'm not sure if you heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Another very good band. Yeah. Yeah. They got, I just refined them, man. There's bands, not just obviously New York and New Jersey, it's everywhere. I mean, there's such a great, everywhere I turn, like you said, Indiana, we got all those we could talk about. Even Oklahoma, we would talk about Rain Was a Free. There are just bands everywhere. It's just that, the good thing is that's the greatest thing about, I think today, living in today's time with the internet, is it's easy to find these things. Where in the past, it would just be, you'd have to move to a specific city or location if you wanted to get your music heard. You couldn't just do it like you can now, where you can do it anywhere, across the world, which is great. So it's one of the best things that I think we see right now. But anyway, all right, man. So we're getting ready to wrap it up here. We still got one more song to play. It's going to be from another New York band. We're going to keep it with the region, but it's a little bit different. Obviously, and this is what we like to do. We like to sort of end the show like we did in the last one with Villagers of Ainina City. We want to end it with something a little more either psychedelic or a little bit different. So we're going to go into this band. And this band, like, it's funny you said it when you brought it up. I was like, I've been seeing them all over the place the last couple of weeks. The band's called Spotlights. Sunset Burial is the name of the track. It's a post-metal band. Got that Deftones vibe. They've actually opened for Deftones, like a Faith No More Deftones-y sort of that vibe in the 90s, that post-metal. It's got some heavy guitar, but mostly sort of ambiotic and just.
But it does have a certain.
It's got some meat.
Point with that guitar that
absolutely
really, I thought helped separate things out. I like the ambient kind of calmness kind of production of that stuff. I like Catania or Catatonia and bands like that as well. In this band, I'd been meaning to do it. And so one day my buddy John said, "Hey, what do you know about Spotlights?" I go, "I know I'm supposed to listen to them." So I'm going to do it right now. And
nice.
He did it at the same time. And I'm like, this, 2 songs in, I'm like, this is cool. And matter of fact, they're on tour right now with Mr. Bungle and Melvin's. And they might be playing here like Sunday or something crazy.
Wow. Well, yeah. Well, both.
Which now that I know they're playing, I can almost bear there through Mr. Bungle to see the other two. So, yeah.
There you go. Well, yeah. I mean,
I want to see Spotlights, and it's a female and male
Yes.
And then of course they've added other parts
Third.
to it. But
Mhm.
they're I mean, it's still, for me, it's underneath this heavy rock umbrella because
Absolutely.
it's a land of misfit rock bands. You know, it's got a little everything in there, and it's original, and it's cool, man. We
cool.
think it's New York, could be Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I know we were saying that, but it looks like it's New York, I believe. Another great upstate New York band that's the same set of sounds, band Guts. I think we talked about that. I interviewed those guys about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Same thing, this post-metal. So this once again, I'm with you. I like this kind of stuff. It's under the heavy rock umbrella. And it fits, just into that sort of 90s, it has like a 90s, like I said, Deftonesy, feel to me is what I get out of this. And so well, let's go ahead. Let's check it out. Spotlight, Sunset Burial. Thanks everybody once again for listening to Heavy Galaxy Show, and we'll see you guys next time.